Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. I'm on the tour still. I'm pretty tired. Maybe you can see it in my eyes. I'm trying to take a day or two just to rest and not do anything, just so I can recharge the batteries and all that good stuff. But I was thinking about something that I think this is literally stuff comes to me while I'm asleep, and then when I think of something that other people can benefit from, I share it. And I just want you to kind of process this. Maybe leave some comments. Tell me what you think. I was wondering, would it make sense if you're in Germany and the descendants of Nazi soldiers were making movies about the Holocaust, or were telling stories about the Jews in media? That wouldn't make any sense. And I don't know much about Germany in terms of exactly how people live there. I spent six weeks there on a research visit with the Center for European Economic Research, but I don't really know enough about German culture to know if that's even something that people are okay with. Um, it wouldn't surprise me if they weren't okay with that, right? If they weren't okay with the idea of the descendants of Nazi soldiers. My grandfather was a Nazi soldier or whatever. If the descendants of Nazi soldiers were making money, or excuse me, making money and films and writing books or whatever about the Jewish Holocaust, well, in Black America, we kind of allow that. Our Nazi soldiers were pretty much racist white people who supported policies that led to basically the extermination of black people. Lynchings, castrations, being burned alive, entire villages being destroyed, things like that. The Black Wall Street story. We mentioned that in our film Resurrecting Black Wall Street. And if you look at a lot of these Hollywood movies that get made, movies about slaves and whatever, and a lot of these, or the civil rights movement, a lot of these movies are being made, and these stories are being told by white people. They're being financed by white people. In many cases, many of the writers are white. Even I saw one black film, and doesn't fit in the context of quote unquote traditional black history, but it was actually straight out of Compton, which again, it's not the same as a slave narrative, of course. But I remember seeing how many of the writers were white. And it doesn't mean white people can't, participate in the telling of certain stories. I'm not going to go that far, but I will say that it is ironic that so many people own an equity stake in who we are, in who we think we are, and who we tell ourselves that we are. And what I think we have to really sort of think about is whether or not these unhealthy habits have been, just given to us and we accept them readily because we don't know any better, right? But if you really think about it, think about how absurd it would be for somebody whose great grandfather was a Nazi soldier, and for that person to be, part of a team of other descendants of Nazis who were telling stories about the Jews, telling stories about the Holocaust, talking about what Nazis actually did and did not do. What are they going to do? Well, if they love their grandparents, in many cases, they'll probably make their grandparents not look as bad as they were. They'll probably make some of them look like heroes. They would highlight the good ones as opposed to the bad ones, right? So that the audience can identify with the good and not the bad. Well, what happens when you see slave movies? Most of the time, there's one with Matthew McConaughey. Where you remember "Give Us Free," where the brothers say "Give us free" when he's Amistad, Amistad. And if you watch a film like Amistad, as well as some of the others, like what was it, the one with Samuel L. Jackson? I don't know if it was To Kill a Mockingbird. Just movies like that. What they tend to do is they always have a white hero. They always have a white person that white people can identify with, who is responsible for saving the black people, right? They have the evil ones, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of that. Those aren't my ancestors," right? But they have the hero, and they say, "Yeah, that's right. I identify with that guy," right? Well, that's exactly how the descendant of a Nazi might tell a story about the Jews. They would point out that one soldier out of 100 or out of 1,000 who helped the Jews on some level, and they would exaggerate his role, and they would make him look like a hero, and they make him look like a good, wonderful person, or at the very worst, conflicted, by the ethical dilemma that lied before him, and you'd walk out feeling okay about the descendants of Nazis. You'd actually say, well, it's really okay that what they did was bad, it was wrong, but they realized their mistake, and now they know not to do it anymore. And that's what you get in America. You basically get a scenario where, the descendants of your Nazi soldiers are all around you. They're telling all your stories. They're controlling your life. They're feeding your families. You're going to work for them. You're letting them educate your kids. And then you're pretty much left to conclude that, yeah, they made a mistake and they're really sorry and they would never do it again, and everything's okay. And I just really think we have to think about this a little bit. It's a huge paradox. I'm not comfortable with it. Personally, I'm a big believer that the black community should be educating black children. Black people should do our best to put ourselves in situations where, our economic, independence is not totally relied upon, or we don't rely on other people for that economic independence. Also, I think when you talk about making movies, we got to tell our stories. We can't, I'm talking about from the top to the bottom. I mean, it doesn't mean white people can't sort of participate. I'm not saying they can't, maybe if you got a white camera guy or something like that, that's fine. But, when you talk about who's actually writing the story, who's actually deciding which story will be told, it's very dangerous when the prominent stories in your community about your people, about who you are, about your history, are being told by the very same people whose families created that nightmare in the first place. And that's kind of crazy to me. So, but what's even crazier is that I will be considered radical for even saying this. I told you guys how, yesterday I gave a speech to a group that was 40% white, and half of those white people were pissed when I walked out the room. And I, everything I said, I was polite about it. I tried to make them feel better, like let them know, hey, it's, don't take this personal. This is just history. These are just facts. But some of them got so mad, and that's what happens. When somebody's accustomed to oppressing you, they get pissed off at you for just telling the truth. It's like it's almost like when somebody owes you money. You ever have somebody where you loan them money, and then they don't want you to even bring it up that they owe you money, and if you bring it up, they cuss you out and go off on you. And imagine if you work for that person or depended on that person, right? They would really go off on you. Your very security will be threatened by the idea that you're even bringing up the debt that they owe to you. Well, that's what happens to you when you tell white people, look at this is what you've done to me. This is what your people have done to my community. This is what your government has continued to do to black people, and we're not going to accept this anymore. At that point, you're asking for a fight. They're going to fight you back. And if you ain't ready to stand up and defend yourself, then you're going to get your butt kicked. So defend yourself. Tell the truth. Don't let nobody scare you into telling a lie. Period. Anyway, that's it. That's all I want to share with you guys. I'm about to get out of here. Don't forget, we're still on tour. You can visit the drboycewatkins.tour.com. Next stop is Las Vegas. After that, there is New York City. We're going to Washington Heights, which is slightly north of Harlem, like 145th Street, at the Malcolm and Betty Shabazz Center to show our film Resurrecting Black Wall Street. I'm also going to give a speech on the 10 Commandments of Black Economic Empowerment. Then we're going to head over to Brooklyn. I forgot the name of the venue, but I'll find that out and I'll tell you. Also, the Black Wealth Boot Camp starts on June 4th. You can join at theblackwealthbootcamp.com. So visit theblackwealthbootcamp.com if you want to take my class. So take care, guys. I'm gone. Love you. Stay strong. Peace.